Right. Good evening to those of you in the UK. Good afternoon to anyone who's further west of us. And yeah, good evening if you're further east of us. And if you're New Zealand, it's probably like 12 hours difference. So again, good afternoon. Sorry, that's not my best intro. Apologies. Hello, everyone. I'm Dale Rodriguez. I'm a guy that has been given LinkedIn Live. I'm not entirely sure why. So thank you, LinkedIn, for giving me LinkedIn Live. And yeah, today with me, I've got Martin Whiskin, voiceover artist. He and I are just going to have a chat. I like his smiley face. He's a pretty cool guy. He's also quite prolific on LinkedIn. His posts are hilarious, by the way. He has like the driest, most sincere, genuine humor. Yeah, he's an all-round great guy, and he's agreed to just chat with me live and answer some of the wacky and weird questions that I have. So, Martin, thank you for joining me.
Thank you for having me. I have a question for you first, if that's okay. Just to clarify, they gave you LinkedIn Live. You didn't even ask for it. They just gave it to you.
No, I actually kind of asked for it. I'm not going to lie.
Oh, you did ask for it. Okay.
So basically, I saw someone else who's very, very prolific on LinkedIn. Like they've got a gazillion followers, and they posted that they asked for LinkedIn Live and didn't get it. And I was like, I wonder what happened if I asked for it. And so I asked for it, and they gave it to me. I haven't told this to that person because I think they might be a bit frustrated because honestly they do a lot more than I do, and I'm very surprised they don't have it yet. Actually, can I get that person a shout out? I think I will, yeah, because I can. Jerry Williams. So she posted a couple of weeks ago, months ago, that she didn't have LinkedIn Live, and I was like, wonder why. And then I applied, and they gave it to me. So yeah,
maybe they was waiting for you.
Maybe. I mean, LinkedIn, if I'm of any influence whatsoever, which I don't think I am, but if I am, give Jerry LinkedIn Live. She's like prolific on the network. So
well, you have influenced me. There
Thank
you go.
you. Okay, I mean, first of all, also need to give a shout out to Mike Roberts. He's joined us, so thank you. He says Martin is a legend.
Oh, thanks, Mike. You're all right as well, actually.
You're all right. Brutal. I guess the first question is, how long have you been doing voiceover?
I have been doing voiceover. Well, I started training in the middle of 2018. So obviously I had breaks, like I slept and had lunch and stuff like that. So I guess 3 years maximum. But I was training and only training for the first at least 6 months of that before I even really started considering going for jobs, because I was atrocious at the beginning. Never done it before. So of course I was very green, as they say.
That's cool. Andrew Ward has joined us. He likes your Optimus t-shirt.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. Andrew is a really cool guy. Like he's just, again, I need to get him on at some point. Anyway, sorry. Back to you, Martin. Back to you. That's actually one of the things I wanted to ask you about, because I think from a layman's perspective, voice acting can be quite glamorous, right? But you've mentioned training.
Yeah.
Right? What does training entail? What is it? What do you actually need to become a voice actor that you weren't aware of before?
A voice.
Okay. Yep.
Yeah, that's the first.
Most people have that. No, most people have that. Not everyone, but most.
Yep. So hard work, dedication, practice, drive. I guess that's the same as dedication. But it was a lot of studying. I think I'd never done it before, so I didn't know what to do with my voice. I had a perception of voiceover voice, that sort of thing, local radio DJ sound. No offense to local radio DJs, of course, but that I think that was popularized by Smashy and Nicey, probably, wasn't it? Harry Enfield and Paul Whitehouse. So for me personally, there was actually a lot of working out that it wasn't that, and voiceover is natural voices, its emotions, its tones, its expressions, all that sort of thing. So it's just training how to use your voice, how to bring the emotions through. But it's not just about the voice. Obviously, it's about the words. So there's training on how to interpret scripts, what things you should be looking for to emphasize in the scripts. Not, maybe not just the business name. It'd be like a message that they're trying to get across. How to look for the message in between the lines, that sort of stuff. So there's a lot of facets to it that a lot of people think it's talking into a microphone, which it is, but there's more that comes in before that.
Do you have any advice to anyone who is looking to become a voice actor? Like, is there a particular training badge of honor like you need to go through, or like just do it?
There's a really, really good training program, and it's a training and mentoring program, and it's run by a company called Gravy for the Brain. And one of the guys that runs it is Peter Dixon, who does the X Factor voices. That's a very famous voice. And my claim to fame then, I guess, is I went to one of their do's in London, and I walked through the door, and Peter Dixon was there. We'd never met before. I think we'd exchanged discussions on the forum for Gravy for the Brain about the stuff I was doing, and he took me downstairs and said to the guy, "Oh, this is Martin Whiskin. Please let him in." And I was like, "Oh, I've made it."
Does he talk like he does on TV in real life? Is that his normal voice, or is it something he does?
This is Martin Whiskin.
Because I can't remember the actor's name. The guy from the IT Crowd, the guy who plays Venom. Is it David Berry? Matt Berry?
Matt Berry, yeah.
Okay, so I bumped into him one time in London, right? And I don't know if he was being a character for me, but I swear when he spoke, he sounded like the character in the TV show. That was his actual voice. So it'd be interesting to know if so no, he doesn't speak like the way he does on X Factor all the time.
No, not at all.
Okay.
Quite softly spoken, very well spoken, and not shouting like on the X Factor.
No, fair enough. I mean, that would be quite frustrating, I can imagine, if he did that all the time. I mean, I can imagine, because one of the things I imagine certain prolific voiceover artists doing, right, is having a family. And I know you've got kids, right?
I have one child and one fetus.
Oh, I didn't know you were expecting.
Oh, Dale, I've got some news.
Congratulations. Well, obviously, you don't need to run it by me, but no, that is amazing. Thank you. That is awesome.
Thank you very much.
Congrats.
Thanks, man.
Yeah, cool. So back to my point, though, like, I can imagine certain prolific and famous voiceover artists reading stories to their kids, right? And so one of the people I often think about, if you wouldn't know him, his name is Red Pepper. He's the guy that does the "coming this summer" voice. Like, he's the archetype of that voice, and his story is amazing. But I recently found out that is his normal voice. Like, he doesn't put that on. That's his voice. And
Really?
Could you imagine being his son or daughter at age, 5 or 6, and him reading Goldilocks and the Three Bears with his voice? Right.
Everything would be a horror story. Horrific.
Everything would be dramatic.
Yeah.
Yeah. So no, I thought that. Prior to being a voiceover artist, what did you do? Because 2018, like, you must have done stuff before that.
Yeah. Well, when I was younger, I went to school. And after that, sorry.
I keep forgetting who I'm talking to. That's the thing. I'm trying to be polite and professional.
I can't help it. After that, I got jobs. My main career, I guess you would call it, 20 years as a database manager for a couple of different companies, looking after lists of names and addresses of people who bought stuff out of newspapers and the catalogs that you get through the door, that sort of stuff. Like the big slipper that you can buy that you put both feet in to keep warm.
Yeah, amazing.
That was the sort of stuff they bought. Yeah.
Cool. When you decided to do voiceover,
like,
how did you? This is more of a personal question. How did you explain that to your wife, or because obviously going from what I can imagine being quite a stable, steady career to voiceover acting is quite a jump.
Yeah. To be honest, I can't really remember. I think I would remember if there was like resistance to it, but she's been very supportive, the whole way through. And I must admit that I do, when I finish a day's work, even now, I get excited about stuff that I've done, and I will just talk at her for a couple of hours in the evening about my day.
So you talk for a living and then talk about what you've done as well.
Yeah. Can't help it.
And that leads me to my next question. What does a day's work look like for a voiceover artist?
Okay, I'll try and summarize, because not every day is the same. So some days I will have majority jobs, other days I'll be auditioning, that sort of stuff. So up at 5 o'clock in the morning, I spend an hour sort of preparing for the day, and then often if I've got jobs on, I will be in the box recording at 6 in the morning, so that I've got everything ready to edit when I officially start work at 9 o'clock. And then for the rest of the day, I can do like marketing and that sort of stuff. But a lot of the things will be much the same as any other business, looking for work.
Okay. And so that's something I didn't know. So do a lot of voiceover artists do their own editing, or is it a mix depending on what they want to do? Because you've got a home studio, right?
Yeah.
Sorry.
No, I was just saying, I would say to my knowledge, I think when I first got into it, they said that there was about 65 to 75% of all voiceover work now happens in a home studio. So, and that would include the editing as well. So you record it, edit it, unless the client specifically wants their own engineer to do it, because some people like a specific type of sound and, you know, EQ and effects and that sort of stuff. But I think I would say 9 jobs out of 10, maybe even more, are edited by the voice artist.
Okay. In terms of editing, is there a particular software that you like to use, or any techniques that you think?
Any techniques? Cubase. I use Cubase.
Cubase.
Just because I used to use that when I was recording like bands demos, so I had the experience using that software, and I thought I might as well just continue using it when I got into this. So any tips? Look for the keyboard shortcuts because it can save you time. And I'm still finding new like shortcuts every now and then to help speed things up and make things processes more efficient.
I'm the same. Like, I didn't realize that Control H and Control G was zoom in and zoom out. And I've been using Cubase for like 10 years. I know, shame on me.
No, I've just learned that. So thank you.
Yeah, it's really cool. And you can just zoom in, and obviously you can do the 0 points on the editing, and you can hack it up, and then nice and easy. So yeah,
I think that's the same then as I'm trying to think now. Control and the mouse wheel does that as well, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So okay, cool.
How do voiceover artists charge for their time? Is it like per syllable, per word? Is it a day rate? A mixture of all that? How does it work?
I charge more if I use sexy voice.
Okay.
No,
it's a powerful voice. It's a powerful thing. I've never actually heard it, but I've heard it's a powerful thing.
The sexy voice. Did you not see the baked beans video?
No.
Out of context, that sounds very strange, but I'll show it to you sometime late at night or something. So what was the question again? I'm lost.
How do voiceover artists tend to charge? Is it per syllable, per word?
Yeah,
day rate? Like
it can vary between genre. So there's some stuff where you will need to have a license to broadcast the project. So if it's going on TV, it will cost more, for example, than a telephone message that I've recorded, for example. Mm-hmm. But it's mainly you charge a studio rate for your hour, what's called a BSF, a basic studio fee. So you say, right, to hire me, it's this much, plus then you will need this for the license, if the license is applicable.
Okay. And in terms of work, so you mentioned different mediums. So like you said, you doing a voicemail recording versus something that's going to be broadcast, so there's going to be different fees, because presumably do voiceover artists get residuals? Is that a thing? Like, do you get?
I think how it works is you say, like, for example, if you've got a TV ad that's a national TV ad, it won't run forever anyway, as you know. Do you know? I'm sure you know. So
I know.
So it might be something like, I don't know, a Coca-Cola advert running for a month, and you would have a license that covers that period, and then if they want to run it for longer or in a wider geographic region, they would have to extend that license.
Okay. Is there kind of like a set rate for big companies, or is it based on the actor, the company, what they agree? Because I can imagine you can charge Coca-Cola a lot more if they're going to use your dulcet tones. Or if they're going to use your voice, Coca-Cola, you can charge them a little bit more than maybe Joe Blogs down the street who's running like a local radio commercial. Am I right?
Yes. Yeah. I think there are some industry sort of guidelines that you try, like Gravy for the Brain that I mentioned earlier. They've set up a fee structure that everyone tries to.
So I thought I put that on there while you were speaking, just to put so Andrew Ward, I feel like you need to bring the sexy voice to the live. Now, I kind of want to hear it, but I'm also afraid because it might be too sexy. That's the thing.
Yeah. I'm worried I might become attracted to myself if I do it too often. I'm not sure what that means, really. Going back to the cost structures. It varies per project, and I think, and it also varies per voice artist. So someone who's been doing it a lot longer than me, who's got more experience, will probably charge more than my basic studio fee. But yeah, I would say if you came to me and said, will you do me a video for for whatever that may be. Not Amicari anymore, unfortunately. I would charge an applicable rate. But then if Coca-Cola came to me and said, I want exactly the same video as Dale, because of they will have a vast audience. I'm not saying you're not popular, because you are very popular, but probably not as vast as Coca-Cola. So I would definitely charge them more, lots more.
I don't take any offense to what you said. I'm not as big as Coca-Cola. I wish I were, but I'm not. Which leads me to my next question in terms of bigness. Hear me out, right? In many different kind of creative industries, they're usually the holy grail of your sector, right? So like if you are in a band and you're in a metal band playing like the Download or V Festival, you know, that's kind of like the pinnacle of achievement. If you play one of those, you know, you play Glastonbury, it's a thing. If you're an actor winning an Oscar or a BAFTA or an Emmy or something like that, that's kind of like the holy grail. That's pinnacle of achievement, right? What is the pinnacle of achievement for a voice actor? Is it a type of gig? Is it a type of voiceover? Is it something that, you know, like Ringo Starr, Thomas the Tank Engine, right? Like if you watch old Thomas the Tank Engine, he's still there. Like he's that voice. Is that the same thing, or
do you think that was his goal?
No, obviously not.
Of an animated train.
No, I don't think so at all. But like he's become iconic. And for me, when I think of voiceover, like there are voices that we know in like kind of TV commercials and that kind of stuff that we kind of get used to, and there are voices that just, you know, kind of stick with us. Like for example, I know Matt Parker and Trey Stone of South Park, they did a lot of the voices for those, and most people will know. You say Eric Cartman, they will hear that voice in they know that voice. And I was wondering, for as an external voice actor or voiceover artist, like are there different kind of jobs or things that you'd want to do that are considered the holy grail, the pinnacle?
I think it varies per voice artist. Everyone will have their own goals and ambitions of what they want to do in their career. My goals to start with were very much based around commercial work. So I wanted to be on the telly, I wanted to be on radio, and that changed over time. And I just had sort of some target clients that I wanted to work with. So I get those focused and I aim for those rather than a specific genre, if that makes sense. So I wanted to do something for the NHS. I didn't know what it was going to be, but that was my target, and I managed to get that client. So I know people whose goals are to be in video games that are sold in the shops. That's quite a cool goal. In terms of mine is more focused on, I think, clients, which clients I would like to work for.
And I'm curious, specifically for you, what kind of clients do you like to work for, or with?
Who I do like to work with. So at the minute, and this is something that changed over time. When I first started, I thought I don't want to do telephone answer messages on hold, that sort of stuff. But now it's like one of the main parts of my job, and I really enjoy doing that. And I would be happy doing that all day, I think.
And as someone who has actually heard your voice on hold, that's right, I've called some Kent-based businesses and heard your voice. Oh, it's Martin. It is actually much more pleasant having your voice there. Like, you know, the inflection you put on certain things, it makes a huge difference. And I think that's one of the things I love about audio personally, is it's 1/3 of your kind of experience in life in terms of, you know, how you interact with the world, sight, touch, and video and audio. Sorry, and it's the one that's often the most understated. Like the way someone projects themselves, the way someone has an intonation in their voice can make a huge impact on how you feel when you're listening to, let's be honest, cheesy hold music.
That is true. You're extremely right there. And I think one of the things that I learned early on was some of the best the best way to think about voiceover, or the best voiceover, is one that isn't noticed. So if you're watching a documentary, for example, on the TV, you're watching it and you're just absorbed in what you're watching. So you're not sitting there thinking, oh, that voice isn't quite right, or the music doesn't suit this scene. When it's all encompassing and you're just immersed in the media, job done.
Agreed. And I know that in gaming and cinematography, like suspension of disbelief. Yes. So the idea that you can watch something and even though you know it's fictitious, you can still feel like it's real to you. And audio has a huge impact on that. So the wrong voices, the wrong music. So yeah, that's a big thing. Going back to what you mentioned before, working for a client, the NHS. Now I know you worked for some very cool and big companies, Lego the NHS you mentioned before, Mercedes, Arsenal, I believe, as well.
Awesome.
Is that right?
Are you a Spurs fan? Yeah.
I'm not a Spurs fan, actually, unfortunately. But
I didn't know whether you were just going to start moaning at me for doing an Arsenal gig.
No, not at all. Not at all. No, I just interested to know out of those kind of big companies, who's your favorite, or the work you had to do?
I tell you what, it was probably I did Costa Coffee, and that was a telephone message. I love the telephone messages.
Why the telephone messages though?
I tried to explain this to someone earlier, and I can't quite put my finger on it. So it's something about being on the end of a phone line anywhere in the, all over the country, and no one will ever know it's me. It's kind of like it's a little sort of secret thing, very under the radar. No one will ever know. Mysterious.
No, that is kind of cool, and that answers the next question I was going to ask. Has anyone ever actually recognized you for your voice? But I'm guessing that's a no.
It's a yes, actually. How dare you?
Yes. I apologize because you were making it sound like that you like have an under radar thing. So who has recognized your voice, and from where and when? Like, how did that happen?
So I was on networking a few weeks ago with, do you know Alex Durham? Videographer.
I know of that. Yes, I do know Alex. So yeah.
She said, "Oh, I think I heard you on the radio the other day," and I just thought she was probably listening to Radio 1 or XFM or something. And I said, "Oh, probably not. Probably wasn't me." And she went, no, I'm sure it was you. And I said, "Well, what was you listening to?" And she went, "Well, she lives in Canterbury, and she just happened to be at her mum's in Essex, and her mum had on a local station there. And I think it was in Brentwood or somewhere like that. And sure enough, it was me on the radio."
Oh, that's awesome. That's cool.
Well, yeah. Well,
do you remember what it would have been for?
I don't know.
Brutal.
Yeah. Sorry, whoever that was for.
I just assumed every single job held a special place in your heart, and you remember every single kind of advert or kind of voiceover thing you've done. But no, it's just words to you.
Yeah. Once I've done the job, they're dead to me.
Okay, moving on. Green apples. Massive non sequitur segue. I understand that they are a thing in the terms of kind of vocology, voice stuff. Why do voiceover artists love green apples so much?
Well, I don't think it's that they love them. I think it's that sometimes they're a necessity. Because if you're not hydrated enough, your mouth can get quite sticky. Like the saliva can become sort of sounds. And the green apple, if you have a couple of bites of that before you go into record, that will help to get rid of that sticky saliva. And that's why. And if you think of a voiceover microphone is very, very sensitive. So when you're recording, it picks up every noise that comes out of your mouth, not just the voice. So you will hear bubbles popping and lips smacking and all that sort of stuff. So anything you can do to lubricate is advisable. And green apples.
As far as you're aware, has anyone done any studies on the red apples? Or is it just green apples that have got the chemicals you need to not all over the mic?
That was perfect. Yeah, it's just green apples.
Okay.
Red ones don't work.
I feel sorry for the red apples. Like,
yeah.
What are you drinking? I just saw you sipping something. Is it like chamomile or something? Some honey and lemon?
Well spotted, chamomile tea. So all I've been drinking for it'll be a year next month is water and chamomile tea, and that's it.
Is that for the voice?
It is for the voice, but it's for health reasons as well.
Okay.
Yeah. Drinking too many fizzy drinks.
Understandable. My fizzy drinks are usually beer, so again, I got to cut back on that sometimes. De-essers, again, another non sequitur. What is a de-esser? What does it do?
A de-esser is I use it as, if I need to use it rather, as a plugin in my audio software. So it's a small piece of software that helps to lessen the sound of people's S's. So it's literally a de-esser, and the S is the letter S. I was saying it a lot then. I was realizing that I could probably do with one now because it's that sort of sound. And it can become quite harsh if you're listening to a long piece with lots of S's in it, because it's very sort of piercing. It can be a piercing sound. So de-esser just brings them down slightly changes the EQ, so they're easier to listen to.
Okay. Green apples, de-esser, two important things that can help if you are going to be a voice actor, voice. Actually, that's another thing. Voice actor or voiceover artist. Is it the same thing? Is it different things?
There's different answers on that. I think it's supposed to be voice actor.
Okay. And sorry, I've just had a comment from Andrew Ward. Andrew, again, thank you for supporting, thank you for listening and commenting. So which green apples are we talking? He's a fan of the Granny Smith. Sorry, he says the Granny, but I'm assuming he means Granny Smith. Will they help with my plosive control?
So I think Granny Smiths would be perfect. They're green, so yep. And will they help with my plosive control? Well, if you bite into the apple and keep it there when you're talking, then there will be no plosives whatsoever. I hope that answers the question.
Can you see how I was a little bit slow there? Like, I heard you say it, I was like, what? Oh, yeah, there will be no plosives or whatsoever because you won't be making a freaking sound. So there we go. Oh, yeah, you might be making a noise. In terms of projects you've done in the past, are there any that stick in your mind specifically?
I always answer this one. I'm sure you've probably heard about it as well. And in fact, I think you might have commented on the clip that I put up. It's one where there was no talking. It was just noises. And I was dubbing the sound of a bodybuilding contest, but not of anyone talking, not of the audience. It was the guys on stage, grunting flexing and puffing. Yeah, flexing. Yeah. All that sort of stuff. And I was the noises for that.
Okay, I'm going to ask a very cheeky favor, and you can say no because I didn't check with you first. If I do some bodybuilding poses right now, you do the noises, because here's the thing. I remember you posted this, and I remember very vividly. That's why I brought the question up. You told me you can't find the footage of you doing this, and I would like some evidence of this. So if I make a fool of myself and do some bodybuilding poses, will you do some noises?
Absolutely, but we might be slightly out of sync. That's my only worry because of the lag, if there is any lag. But yeah, I think we should definitely do this for at least 3 or 4 minutes.
There is definitely some lag. I'll make sure I hold the poses for at least 30 seconds to compensate for lag, and it can only make it funnier because this is an amateur production. I know you're a professional, but this is just me in my spare room, just talking to cool people. So yeah, all right, first pose.
Ooh. That's how I imagine the noises you make in the gym.
I'm pretty quiet in the gym, to be honest.
Are you? You're
unless it's ridiculously heavy. I try to be quiet because I want to respect other people. I don't want to be that guy that's always like, oh! So come on, man. We're all trying to work out. I get it. Like when you're training really hard, and sometimes it comes out, you can't help it. But other times you see a guy like do like a dumbbell curl. It's like, come on, man. It's just one of your muscles. It's not the whole.
That sort of stuff.
Anyway, I'm gonna do another pose if that's okay, and then we'll just.
Well, my first two. So I think that one would be silence because that is such an epic pose that it carries its own weight.
I'm trying to think of the faces that you'd actually pull. I mean, they're supposed to smile, aren't they? It's not supposed to be like proper strenuous. It's like a which way to the beach.
It was a strange one because there was obviously like they sort of do the hulking up thing first, don't they, to get into the pose. So there was a lot of and then they sort of smile whilst grimacing at the same time at the end. It was fun.
Is it true that voiceover artists sometimes get paid for not speaking? And so you mentioned it there, but like kind of just breath noises as well. So like sleep noises and all kind of stuff. And
I think it's called I think it's NSVs, so it's non-scripted vocals.
Okay.
So there's the one, the most obvious one is like the Walla track. So lots of voiceover artists will stand around a mic just saying either rhubarb, 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 or walla, 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 walla. And then that gets layered and that becomes sound in the background of things like the Queen Vic in EastEnders, for example.
That makes sense. I didn't think of that. So when they say like rabble, 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 rabble all the time, that's just someone saying it and layered over.
Yeah.
In your opinion, what makes a good voiceover actor and what makes a not so good voiceover actor?
A good voice actor would be someone who is dedicated to always improving their craft or their skill of the craft, and someone who, because it's not just it, the way I sort of look at it is it's what you can do with your voice, not just your voice, if that makes sense. So it's a bad voice actor.
So is that actually, if I've interpreted this correctly, actually acting, right? So you can't just assume just because you have a nice voice and people tell you you've got a nice voice, you can be a voiceover actor. Actually, you need to learn to act. You need to learn how to distort your voice, perhaps, and like you say, inflection, all that kind of stuff that you would do when reading a script. So you are actually an actor. And I can imagine actually it's harder because in full acting, you have your face, you have hand gestures, but with voiceover, it's just your voice, right? So you've got to try a lot harder to kind of
which is why if you see someone, a voice actor recording, you will see them doing all of that stuff, and sometimes they're going further than you would on screen, because you can hear people smiling, you can hear gestures, emphasizing the point, but you can't do that, or you can't see it. So you have to don't stand still basically whilst you're recording voice work.
No, again, I got another good tip. So we've got green apples, de-esser, and don't stand still. And I'm going to start wrapping this up because I think, we're coming to a natural progression, natural end. Is there a particular voiceover artist that you respect, admire, and would like to work with? And if so, could you explain to, us non-voicey people who that is and why?
Well, yes, there is. And I think you know who it is. And, I talk to this guy pretty much every day. Although not today, I'm not sure where he's gone. Hope he's all right. And his name is Sean Anthony, and I think you've chatted to him because when I first started voiceover, he'd already been doing it 2 or 3 years, and we got on really well, and he like into the same sort of music and that sort of thing. So we found some common bonds, and he's always been the guy that I look to see where I'm going next, if that makes sense.
So kind of like a mentor for you.
Yeah.
Cool. A mentor that you're occasionally mean to as well.
Am I though?
Treat him mean, keep him keen.
Oh yeah.
Well, it's just, in your last LinkedIn post with Sean in it, like, it was quite funny.
Yeah. No, we got on really well, and we're actually, I think and this isn't a plug, by the way, but we have just started a podcast together, so quite pleased about that. We've
recorded away. What's the name of the podcast?
The podcast is Shut Up and Answer the Question.
Okay.
And the premise is listeners, when we get some listeners, will submit questions about anything they like, and we will answer them. So we've got a random question generator that will pick one every episode, and that is our topic for that episode. So we don't know what it's about until we start recording.
To be fair, you've already got a listener in me, and I assumed you'd have some kind of random generator. So I flooded you with like 20 or 30 questions already, hoping that the more I put in, the more likely one of my questions will come up. So
yeah. Keep going.
When does it start? When does it air?
Well, we've recorded 2 episodes so far. We're flying. But we want to get a minimum of 5 before we release it, because we assume that everyone will love it and want to listen to more than one episode straight away, you see. So
I think that is a fair assumption. Yeah, why wouldn't you want to listen to it? It's just 2 entertaining guys with cool voices answering ridiculous questions. I think one of my questions was like, what would win in a fight? A hippo and an alligator? Was it a giraffe and a zebra? There we go.
There have been some really bizarre questions. The bizarrer, the better, I think.
Cool. Yeah, I think we should leave it on that. The bizarrer, the better. Oh, sorry. Actually, one important thing. Where can we hear your podcast? Are you going to be like on iTunes, Spotify, TuneIn Radio? What's happening on YouTube? Yeah,
I'm hoping that it will be everywhere. So I will just spam it everywhere, and it will appear in people's ears, hopefully. But that's somewhere I need to focus on once we've done some more recording and find out how to do that stuff.
That's cool. Yeah. I'm going to wrap things up there. Thank you for joining me. Thank you for answering my questions. I'll be honest, I've held back on some of my questions. I didn't want to ask any of the ridiculous ones. So maybe you'll come back and I can ask you more ridiculous ones. Now you feel safe, like lulled you into false sense of security. we can ask the more silly ones. But no, thank you for coming.
No
Thank you for being
worries.
so chatty, because this only works if you talk. Otherwise, it's just me talking and that kind of. Yeah. And yeah, thank you to Mike, Andrew, and others who may not have commented. Thank you for listening. And I'll be doing another one next week with another guest from a completely different sector, talking about random things and hopefully giving you guys some business insights and yeah, just fun content. Peace.
Bye.